You're able to see?
No, Prabhuji.
Now?
It's yes, Prabhuji. Now we can see.
Yeah, this one you are reading, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes. Which paragraph, Prabhu?
You go down.
Last
Prabhuji, go down. Yeah, go down. As Kalpabil Bhagavati. This Shaltab Alaltab has completed. This para is
I mean last one. Therefore, merging in the absolute, the last one, the last line.
Shaltab Alaltab para last line. Therefore, yeah, you can read. Yeah.
This one?
Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji.
It's done now?
Yes, Prabhuji. This is done. So now people can start from next paragraph.
Acha. Thank you so much, Prabhu, from reading from your mobile. Yeah, it was. I was just on the road, just back home.
No worries, Prabhuji.
Yes, thank you so much for reading, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Anyway, Deepa Mataji is traveling. Raju Prabhu is traveling. Who else said? Radhika Mother in hearing mode. Lavanya, you can read.
Yeah. Can you scroll down a little bit?
Yeah, 1 second. Yes.
Attainment of love of Godhead means complete freedom from all other attractions. The conditioned soul has many aspirations, such as becoming a religious man, a rich man, or a first-class enjoyer, or becoming God himself, or becoming powerful like the mystics and acting wonderfully by getting anything or doing anything. But all these aspirations should be rejected by the prospective devotee who actually wants to revive his dormant love of God. The impure devotee aspires after all the above mentioned material things by perfection of devotion. But a pure devotee has none of the things of the above contaminations, which are the influence of material desires, impersonal speculations, and attainment of mystic powers. One can attain the stage of love of God by pure devotional service or by a learned labor of love, for the sake of the devotee's lovable object, the personality of Godhead.
Continue, complete it.
To be more clear, if he wants to attain the stage of love of Godhead, he must give up all desire for material enjoyment. He should refrain from worshipping any of the devotees, and he should devote himself only to the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He must give up the foolish idea of becoming one with the God and the desire to have some wonderful powers just to get the empirical adoration of the world. The pure devotee is only favorably engaged in the service of the Lord, without any hope of emolument. This will bring about the love of Godhead or the stage of Shantam and Anandam, as stated in this verse.
Yeah, thank you, Lavanya. You can read 32nd verse.
Yes, bro. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Your Majesty Maharaj Parikshit, though that all that I have described in reply to your proper inquiry is just according to the version of the Vedas, and it is the eternal truth. This was described personally by the Lord Krishna unto Brahma, with whom the Lord was satisfied upon being properly worshipped. Purport: the two different ways of reaching the spiritual sky and thereby getting emancipation from all the material bondage, namely either the direct process of reaching the kingdom of the Godhead or gradual process through the other higher planets of universe, are set forth exactly according to the version of the Vedas. The Vedic versions in this collection are Yada sarve pravuchayalte kamais hriday स्त्रिस्थः अतामात्यो मृतो भवति अत्र ब्रह्म समस्तुते बृहत् Aranyaka Upanishad 4.4.7 and Terichir Abhishambhavanti Brihad Aranya Upanishad 6.2.15. Those who are free from all material desires, which are the diseases of the earth, are able to conquer the death and enter the kingdom of Godhead through the earth, to the archiplanets. These Vedic versions corroborate the version of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the later is further confirmed by the Sukdev Goswami, who affirms truth that the truth was disclosed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna Vasudeva, to Brahma, the first authority of the Vedas. The disciplic expression holds that the Vedas were uttered by the Lord Krishna to Brahma, by Brahma to Narada, and from Narada to Vyasadev, and then Vyasadev to Sukdev Goswami, and so on. So there is no difference between the version of all the authorities. The truth is eternal, and as such, there cannot be a new opinion about the truth. That is the way of knowing the knowledge contained in the Vedas. It is not a thing to be understood by one's erudite scholarship or through the fashionable interpretations of Buddhist scholars. There is nothing to be added and nothing to be subtracted, because the truth is truth. One has to accept after all, uh, some authority. The modern scientists are also authorities for the Commonwealth for some scientific truths. The Commonwealth follows the version of scientists. This means that the Commonwealth follows the authority. The Vedic knowledge is also received in that way. The Commonwealth cannot argue about what is beyond the sky or beyond the universe. He must accept the versions of the Vedas as they are understood by the authorized disciple succession. In the Bhagavad Gita, also the same same process of understanding the Gita is stated in the 4th chapter. If one does not follow the authority version of Acharyas, he will be vainly search. We will vainly search after the truth mentioned in the Vedas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Let me read. Yeah, reading from Canto 2, the Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 2. Chapter 2, what is that? Title is The Lord in the Heart. The Lord in the Heart. Text 33. Translation and purport by Abhayachan Aravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. For those who are wandering in the material universe, there is no more auspicious means of deliverance than what is aimed at the direct devotional service of Lord Krishna. For those who are wandering in the material universe, there is no more auspicious means of deliverance than what is aimed at in the direct devotional service of Lord Krishna. Purport. As will be clarified in the next verse, devotional service or direct bhakti yoga is the only absolute and auspicious means of deliverance from the grip of material existence. There are many indirect methods for deliverance from the clutches of material existence, but none of them is as easy and auspicious as bhakti yoga. The means of jnana and yoga and other allied disciplines are not independent in delivering a performer. Such activities help one to reach the stage of bhakti yoga after many, many years. In the Bhagavad Gita 12.5, it is said that those who are attached to the impersonal feature of the Absolute are liable to many troubles in the pursuit of their desired goal. And the empiricist philosophers searching after the absolute truth. Just a second. Suddenly. absolute truth. Realize the importance of Vasudeva realization. As all in all, after many, many births, Bhagavad Gita 7.9, as far as yoga systems are concerned, it is also said that the Bhagavad Gita 6.47, that among us the mystics who pursue the absolute truth, the one who is always engaged in the service of the Lord is the greatest of all. And the last instruction in the Bhagavad Gita 18.66 advises fully surrendering unto the Lord, leaving aside all other engagements or different processes for self-realization and liberation from material bondage. And the purport of all Vedic literatures is to induce one to accept the transcendental loving service of the Lord by all means. As already explained in the texts of Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, either direct bhakti yoga or the means which ultimately culminate in bhakti yoga without any tinge of fruitive activity constitute the highest form of religion. Everything else is simply a waste of time for the performer. Srila Sridhar Swami and our other acharyas like Jiva Goswami agree that bhakti yoga is not only easy, simple, natural, and free from trouble, but is the only source of happiness for the human being. So these are the great Vaishnava acharyas, Jiva Goswami, Sridhara Swami. They also concluded that the process of devotional service is the best, is the best, the best. Bhakti yoga is not only easy. See, in the beginning, it's not easy with our mind. But we at any cost we have to chant anyway. Even our mind drags into different materialistic desires, thoughts, etc., etc. Still, we have to practice. And so the Krishna says in the beginning, it's just like poison. In the end, it's nectar. But some mental activities in the beginning nectar, at the end, it's a poison. Bhakti yoga is not only easy. Once we reach the stage, it is going to be natural, easy, simple, and free from trouble. And this is the only source of real happiness of the human being. Because this is connects to soul. That is the Atmananda, right? Bhakti yoga gives Atmananda. Right, 34 verse. Chandral Prabhu, since you joined, please read, Prabhu.
Yeah, sure. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The great personality Brahma, with great attention and concentration of the mind, studied the Vedas 3 times. And after scrutinizingly examining them, he ascertained that attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the highest perfection of religion. Purport. Sri Sukadeva Goswami is referring to the highest Vedic authority, Lord Brahma, who is the qualitative incarnation of Godhead. The Vedas were taught. I missed it, Prabhuji.
Prabhu, I mean,
Yeah, now. The Vedas were taught to Brahmaji in the beginning of the material creation. Again, I lost.
Because you move to another one.
one second, something messed up. Let me share again.
Yes, now I am able to see.
Yes. Now?
Sorry, Prabhu. Again.
Again,
Just hold
I
on.
think you're trying to do multitasking, Prabhu.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to open one file,
Okay.
reference works. That's why I just opened other window. Now, let me see. Okay.
Shall I go ahead, Prabhuji?
Now are you able to see?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, continue again.
Sri Sukadeva Goswami is referring to the highest Vedic authority, Lord Brahma, who is the qualitative incarnation of Godhead. The Vedas were taught to Brahmaji in the beginning of the material creation. Although Brahmaji was to hear Vedic instruction directly from the personality of Godhead, in order to satisfy the inquisitiveness of all the prospective students of the Vedas, Brahmaji, just like a scholar, studied the Vedas 3 times, as generally done by all scholars. He studied with great attention, concentrating on the purpose of the Vedas, and after scrutinizingly examining the whole process, he ascertained that becoming a pure, unalloyed devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna is the topmost perfection of all religious principles. And this is the last incarnation of the Bhagavad Gita directly presented by the Personality of Godhead. The Vedic conclusion is thus accepted by all the acharyas And those who are against this conclusion are only Veda Rathas, as explained in the Bhagavad Gita 2.42. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. What? Bolo Chapramani? Mana Siddharth Babu. What is 2.42?
Yeah.
చెప్పండి. యా ఇమం పుష్పితం వాచం ప్రవాదంతి అవిపశ్చితః వేదవాద రథపార్థ నాణ్యదసిత్ అస్థితి వాదినః. So men of small intelligence are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to 11 heaven planets. So that's the yeah, those who are against this conclusion are only Vedavadarathas. Vedavadarathas is again fruitive activities. They perform their intelligence stolen by this. Men of small intelligence are very much attached to flowery words of Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation of heavenly planets. Other others. Yeah, we continue again. Yes. Actually, this is one of the, it seems interesting was Prabhuji didn't join. He has some unplanned travel he mentioned. So, Haritma Prabhu, maybe let us recite some of this one. It seems looks important verse. Bhagavan Sarvabhuteshu. Okay. Lavanya, you can recite this verse and try to read. Yeah. It's a big purport. You can read first paragraph and translation, sloka recitation. 35th one. Hare Krishna.
Srimad Bhagavatam 2.2.35. Bhagavan sarvabhuteshu lakshitasmatmana hari dushair buddhir adibi tushta lakshanair anumapakai. Bhagavan sarvabhuteshu lakshitasmatmana hari dushair buddhir adibi tushta lakshanair anumapakai. Translation: The personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, is in every living being. Translation: The personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, is in every living being along with the individual soul. And this fact is perceived and hypothesized in acts of seeing and taking help from the intelligence. Purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Purport: The general argument of the common man is that since the Lord is not visible to our eyes, how can one either surrender unto him or render transcendental loving service unto him? To such a common man, here is a practical suggestion given by Srila Sukadeva Goswami as to how one can perceive the Supreme Lord by reason and perception. Actually, the Lord is not perceivable by our present material senses, but when one is convinced of the presence of the Lord by a practical service attitude, there is a revelation by the Lord's mercy, and such a pure devotee of the Lord can perceive the Lord's presence always and everywhere. He can perceive that intelligence in the form, direction of the Paramatma, plenary portion of the personality of Godhead. The presence of Paramatma in everyone's company is not very difficult to realize, even for the common man. The procedure is as follows. One can perceive one's self-identification and feel positively that he exists. He may not feel it very abruptly, but by using a little intelligence, he can feel that he is not the body. He can feel that the hand, leg, head, hair, and the limbs are all his bodily parts and parcels, but as such, the hand, leg, and head, etc., cannot be identified with him, with his self. Therefore, just by using intelligence, he can distinguish and separate his self from other things that he sees. So the natural conclusion is that the living being, either man or beast, or is a seer, and he sees besides himself all other things. So there is a difference between the seer and the seen. Now, by a little use of intelligence, we can also readily agree that the living being who sees the living things beyond himself by ordinary vision has no power to see or to move independently. All our ordinary actions and perception depends on the various forms of energy supplied to us by nature in various combinations. Our senses of perception and of action, that is to say, our five perceptive senses of hearing, touch, sight, taste, smell, as well as five senses of action, namely hands, legs, speech, evacuation organs, and reproductive organs, and also our three subtle senses, namely mind, intelligence, and ego. Ego is 13 senses in all, are supplied to us by various arrangements of gross and subtle forms of natural energy. And it is equally evident that our objects of perception are nothing but the products of the inexhaustible permutations and combinations of the forms taken by natural energy. As this conclusively proves that the ordinary living being has no independent power of perception or of motion, as we undoubtedly feel that our existence being conditioned by nature's energy. We conclude that one who sees is spirit and that the senses as well as the objects of perception are material. The spiritual quality of the seer is manifest in our dissatisfaction with the limited state of materially conditioned existence. There is a difference between spirit and matter. There are some less intelligent arguments that matter develops the power of seeing and moving as a certain organic development, but such an argument cannot be accepted because there is no experimental evidence that matter has anywhere produced in living entity. Trust no future, however pleasant. Idle talks regarding future development of matter into spirit are actually foolish because no matter has ever developed the power of seeing or moving in any part of the world. Therefore, it is indefinite that matter and spirit are two different identities, and this conclusion is arrived at by the use of intelligence. Now we come to the point that things which we are seeing by a little use of intelligence cannot be animate unless we accept someone as a user of or a director of the intelligence. Intelligence gives one direction like some higher authority, and the living being cannot see or move or eat or do anything without the use of intelligence. When one fails to take advantage of intelligence, he becomes a deranged man, and so a living being is dependent on intelligence or the direction of a superior being. Such intelligence is all pervading. Every living being is intelligent, and this intelligence, being the direction of some higher authority, is just like a father giving direction to his son. The higher authority who is present and residing within every individual living being is the super self. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. It's a big purport. Yes. So life comes from, there is Krishna, there is Srila Prabhupada written one book.
Life.
Life comes from life. Matter doesn't value unless the spirit is not there. That is the difference, right? Dead body, living body, the consciousness. The soul is there, the consciousness is there. As long as soul is not there, there is no question of consciousness. Body is not moving. So that's a higher authority who is present and residing within every individual living being is the super self. Yeah, every living being has his intelligence, and this intelligence being the direction of some higher authority is just like a father giving direction to his son. That means soul and super soul. Soul is son, super soul is father. Krishna himself says, right? Aham bija,
Prajapita.
pradapita. Aham bija, pradapita. So he is seed giving father. That means the soul connects to Krishna only. He is created by him. We all are created by him. Okay, the higher authority is super soul. Aham bija, Krishna. Yeah, so let us continue on this paragraph also. Now, Gaurav Prabhuji.
Krishna Bhushan.
Yes.
At this point in our investigation, we may consider the following questions. On the one hand, we realize that all our perceptions and activities are conditioned by arrangements of material nature. Yet we are ordinarily feel that say, I am perceiving or I am doing. Therefore, we can say that our material senses of perception and action are moving because we are identifying the self with the material body and that the superior principle of super soul, super self is guiding and supplying us according to our desire. By taking advantage of the guidance of super self in the form of intelligence, we can either continue to study, to put into practice our conclusion that I am not this body, or we can choose to remain in a false material identification, fancifying ourselves to be the processor or the doer. Our freedom consists in orienting our desire either toward the ignorant material misconception or the true spiritual conception. We can easily attain to the true spiritual conception by recognizing the super self, Paramatma, to be our friend and guide, and by devoting our intelligence with the super intelligence and Paramatma. The super self and the individual self are both spirit and are both spirit, and therefore the super self and the individual self are both qualitatively one and distinct from matter. But the super self and the individual self cannot be on an open equal because the super self gives directions or supplies intelligence, and the individual self follows the direction, and thus actions are performed properly. The individual is completely dependent on the direction of the super self because in every step the individual self follows the direction of the super self in the matter of seeing, hearing, thinking, feeling, willing, etc. Prabhuji, we are not able to hear you.
Yes, sorry. Thank you, bro. Thank you for reading. So basically, we are identifying with the matter. That's called false ego. Okay. Higher than mind, intelligence. Higher than intelligence, false ego. Higher than false ego, spiritual. So the false ego is very deep rooted to the soul. I am this, I am this. Doers, Prabhupada, so nicely words used this here. Possessors and doers. Fancying ourselves to be the possessors and doers. I am this body. Possessing different positions, identification with the body. I am this, I am that, I am the doer, I am the controller, I am the engineer, I am the proprietor, I am the master. False identification. Our freedom consists in orienting our desire either toward the ignorant material misconception or the true spiritual conception. What is the true spiritual conception? That's nothing but true ego. What is the true ego? I am servant of Krishna. Jivera Sarvai Krishna Nityadas. Never ever become master. We are always servant. One more important point. The living in the individual is completely dependent on the direction of the super self because in every step the individual self follows the direction of the super self. The matter of seeing, hearing, thinking, feeling, willing. Yeah, right? Seeing, hearing, thinking, feeling, willing. Thinking, feeling, willing. Seeing, hearing. So who is the director? Super soul, Paramatma. Soul is acting. That's where when we adopt the principles of Bhakti Yoga, we are properly addressing, we are properly satisfying super soul. So that's where then when super soul satisfied, the soul automatically our jiva, our the nature of the soul also satisfied. The problem with material world, why we are suffering, forgetfulness of that identity. I am not this body, I am spirit soul, I am servant of Krishna. That is the problem. Forgetfulness. So that's where the important words, Smartavyam Satatam Vishnu, Vismartavyam not Jatuchit. Always remember Krishna, never forgets. So these are the calls, we are reading every day. For our purification, for our betterment. We are reading scripture, Bhagavatam. Yes, let us continue again. Yes, Akinchan Prabhu, please read.
Yes, bro.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you.
So far as Bhagavad, yeah, one second. So far as Bhagavad self is concerned, we come to the conclusion that there is three identities, namely matter, spirit, and super spirit. Now, if we go to the Bhagavad Gita on the Vedic intelligence, we can further understand that three identities, namely matter, individual spirit, and super spirit, are all dependent on the supreme personality of Godhead. The super self is a partial representation or preliminary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Bhagavad Gita affirms that the Supreme Personality of Godhead dominates all over the material world by his partial representation only. God is great and he cannot be simply an order supplier of the individual selves. Therefore, this super self cannot be full representation of Supreme Self, Purushottama, the absolute personality of Godhead. The realization of the super self by the individual self is the beginning of the self-realization, and by the progress of such self-realization, one is able to realize the supreme personality of Godhead by intelligence. By the help of authorized scriptures and principally by the grace of the Lord, grace of the Lord. The Bhagavad Gita is preliminary conception of the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, and Srimad Bhagavatam is further explanation of the science of Godhead. So, if we stick to our determination and pray for the mercy of the director of intelligence sitting within the same bodily tree like a bird sitting with the another bird, as explained in the Upanishads. Certainly, the purport of the revealed information in the Vedas becomes clear to our vision, and there is no difficulty in realizing the supreme personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. The intelligent man, therefore, after many births of such use of intelligence, surrenders himself at the lotus feet of Vasudeva, as confirmed by the Bhagavad Gita 7.19.
Not that one time to translation. Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Nandapagate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudhirnava. Read Prabhu. Translation.
After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare.
Yeah. Perfect. So three things Prabhupada mentioned, we can further understand with our intelligence three identities. What is matter, what is individual spirit, what is super spirit, are all dependent on the supreme personality of Godhead. The Bhagavad Gita affirms that the supreme personality of Godhead dominates all over the material world by his partial representation only. God is great. We cannot be simply an order supplier of the individual selves. Therefore, the super self cannot be a fully representation of the supreme self, the absolute personality of Godhead. See, this one, Prabhupada writes, preliminary conception and further explanation of the science of Godhead. So these two scriptures are enough. Science of Godhead. One is by Krishna, one is about Krishna. Yes. And this example we many times we see, right? Bird sitting on the tree, two birds sitting on the tree, and bird is always eating fruit, something, and the other one is watching. The other one is super soul, the one is eating bird is soul. Then it turns to me, and that always looks. That's the thing. So super soul. Krishna always looks for us. When this personality come back to me, when he is going to remember and identity and serve me, always looks for that. Yeah. Now let us continue with this and we can go to sloka recitation. With this we can conclude. Okay. So mana Chandramal Prabhu, you chadava.
Sure, Babaji. Hare Krishna. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O King, it is therefore essential that every human being hear about, glorify and remember the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, always and everywhere. Purport. Srila Sukadeva Goswami begins this verse with the word tasmat and or therefore, because in the previous verse he has already explained that there is no auspicious means for salvation other than the sublime process of Bhakti Yoga. The Bhakti Yoga process is practiced by the devotees in different methods like hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, worshipping, praying, rendering service in love, becoming friendly, and offering all that one may process. All 9 methods are bona fide methods, and either all of them, some of them, or even none of even one of them can bring about the desired result for the sincere devotee. But out of all these 9 different methods, the first one, namely hearing, is the most important function in the process of Bhakti Yoga. Yeah. Without hearing sufficiently and properly, no one can make any progress by any of methods of practice. And for hearing only, all the Vedic literatures and therefore compiled by all authorized persons like Vyasadeva, who is the powerful incarnation of Godhead. And since it has been ascertained that the Lord is the super soul of everything, he should therefore be heard and glorified everywhere and always. And that is the special duty of the human being. When the human being gives up the process of hearing about the all-pervading personality of Godhead, he becomes victim to hearing rubbish transmitted by man-made machines. Machinery is not bad because though the one can take the advantage of hearing about the Lord, but because machinery is used for ulterior purposes, it is creating rapid degradation in the standard of human civilization. It is said here that it is incumbent upon the human beings of here because the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are made for that purpose. Living beings other than human beings have no ability to hear such Vedic literatures. In human society, gives itself to the process of hearing the Vedic literature, it will not become a victim in the impious sounds vibrated by impious men who degrade the standards of the total society. Hearing is solidified by the process of chanting. One who has perfectly heard from the perfect source becomes convinced about the all-pervading personality of Godhead, and thus becomes enthusiastic in glorifying the Lord. All the great acharyas like Ramanuja, Madhva, Chaitanya, Saraswati Thakura, or even in other countries, Muhammad, Christ, and others have all extensively glorified the Lord by chanting always and in every place. Because the Lord is all-pervading, it is essential to glorify Him always and everywhere. In the process of glorifying the Lord, there should be no restriction of time and space. This is called Sanatana Dharma or Bhagavata Dharma. Sanatana means eternal, always and everywhere. Bhagavata means pertaining to Bhagavan, the Lord. The Lord is the master of all time and space, and therefore the Lord's holy name must be heard, glorified, and remembered everywhere in the world. That will bring about the desired peace and prosperity so eagerly awaited by the people of the world. The word cha includes all the remaining process of methods of Bhakti Yoga as mentioned above. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you so much for reading. O King, it is therefore, let me see. O King, it is therefore essential that every human being hear about, glorify, and remember Supreme Lord, the personality of God, always and everywhere. What an important verse actually. Tasmad sarvatma narajan hari sarvatra sarvada shrotavya kirtare. This is one of the important verses here. Shrotavya kirtitavyascha smartavyo bhagavan ranam. Very nice verse. Tasmat sarvatma narajan hari sarvatra sarvada shrotavya kirtitavyascha smartavyo bhagavan ranam. Tasmat sarvatma narajan hari sarvatra sarvada shrotavya kirtitavyascha smartavyo bhagavan ranam. General Prabhu, మీరు చదివిన ఒకసారి చేయండి. Then we'll go to
Yeah.
practice.
You want me to read Sloka, Prabhuji? Tasmat sarvatma rajan hari sarvatra sarvada shrotavya kirtitavyascha smartvayo bhagavan Narnan.
Bhagavan Ram. Very well.
Bhagavan
That's the important word. Okay, it is therefore essential. Hearing process. Hearing to hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Lord, the personality of God, always and everywhere. And this one, Prabhupada nicely written this sentence. Just want to read. Hearing is solidified by the process of chanting. So two process. Hearing is solidified by the process of chanting. So not only hearing, first to start with hearing, yes. And then it has to solidify, fixed with chanting. That will bring about peace and prosperity so eagerly awaited by the people of the world. The word cha includes all the meaning, all the remaining process of methods. The remaining process are methods of bhakti yoga as mentioned above. This one, Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam, Maharaj's teachings. Hare Krishna. So, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema, Satya Kabunoi, Shravanadi Suni Cheva, Karaye Uday. Awakening love of Godhead. How can we awaken love of Godhead? Process is here, hearing and chanting. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema, Satya Kabunoi. Krishna Prema is there in each and every living entity. Krishna Prema. But it's hidden now. So how can we awaken hearing and chanting? Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Satya Kabunoi Shravanadi Shuni Chaiva. Shravanam and Suni Chaiva. Hearing and chanting. Shravanadi Shuni Chaiva Karaye Uday. When we do that, it is going to awaken. It's everyday process. Every day we have to regularly hear, regularly chant. That's the thing. So let us start.
Prabhuji, I got one silly question here, Prabhuji.
Japan.
We have 9 Navveda Bhakti Vedanam, right, Prabhuji?
Um,
There are 9 ways. So do we have to follow all the 9 things, or if you follow either one of the things is enough in our daily life?
One leads to other one, Prabhu, automatically. Actually, it starts with Shravanam, right? There also Shravanam. There are
Okay.
Shravanam. Once you Shravanam started, I mean, you can just hearing only once again. See, without hearing sufficiently and properly, no one can make any progress by any other methods of practice. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. First starting with hearing only, Prabhu. Hearing leads to, here there are the next leads to Shravanam, right?
Okay.
It leads like all the way Atma Nivedana at the end of, complete, complete processes. Best example we see, right? Who Savai Mana Krishna Pada Aravindayo. Who has recited that one? Who? First time of Ambarish Maharaj. He utilized everything, all the 9 processes of bhakti exemplified.
So if you want to become a pure devotee, you have to you have to follow all these 9 Navveda Bhakti.
Yes, Prabhu, automatically. First it starts with Shravanam Kirtanam. Automatically it leads to Atma Nivedanam, Mottam, Anta, complete surrender. Okay. Yes, starts with hearing. Hearing leads to chanting. Chanting leads to Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, remembering. By doing so, we remember Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, serving lotus feet of Krishna devotees. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, deity worship. After hearing what we need to one, after Shravanam, Kirtanam, one leads to the other.
So if you do all these 9 things in a day, then that is perfect. It
automatically it's going to be natural, Prabhu. Leads to other.
No, Prabhuji, if you are just hearing and you are stopping the devotional activity by just hearing itself on a single day, so that is not completeness of the devotion, right? That is just part of the part of the devotion. That's it.
Part of devotion. Shravanam, Kirtanam, complete practice కావాలంటే ఈ విన్న తర్వాత ఆటోమేటికల్ గా మనం చేయాలనిపిస్తుంది ప్రభు చాంటింగ్ చేయాలి. Hear about what? Nama Rupa Gunalila about Supreme Personality. Once we hear, what happens? We get that little taste. Oh, let me chant. Okay, then let me remember. So Kirtana Vishnu Smarana. Father Sevan, let me serve devotees, let me serve Krishna. Savanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam, Father Sevan, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. One by one. Gradual, Prabhu. Okay? It starts with hearing. I mean, Prabhupada writes sometimes, I have seen in purports, it's there. If a person adopts one principle of bhakti, his life will become successful. So Prabhupada right, again, at least adapt here regularly. See, that's the thing. Here regularly, that leads to next stage, Prabhu. Automatically, the activity has to do. It leads to the other activities. And the Prabhupada writes, no, see, hearing solidified by chanting. That means one has to do both. One has to do all actually. It will come automatically. It's not a thing, but it starts with hearing. ఎక్కడైనా శ్రవణంతోనే స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది అంతే కదా రైట్
ఈ క్వశ్చన్ ఎందుకు వచ్చిందంటే ప్రభుజీ మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ది టైమ్స్ వాట్ ఐ డూ ఈస్ ఐ విల్ స్విచ్ ఆన్ దిస్ ల్యాప్టాప్ అండ్ ఐ విల్ డూ అదర్ థింగ్స్ ఆల్సో ప్యారలల్లీ ప్రభుజీ. Sometimes we'll constantly listen, sometimes you don't listen properly. That's the reason I'm getting this type of question.
Yes, it happens to me also. It happens to anybody. It's natural. I mean, that's the thing. Hearing proper. Hearing needs to be proper. See, in the same purpose, in the same way, one cannot make progress. That word, let me see. What is saying proper? Progress, right? So, one time, cannot make any progress. No one can make any progress without hearing sufficiently. See, read you only read. Proper words,
Yeah,
golden
yes,
words.
Prabhuji.
చదవండి.
Yeah, without hearing sufficiently and properly, no one can make any progress by any methods of practice. Yeah, అందుకనే డౌట్ వచ్చింది ప్రభుజీ.
యా స్టార్ట్ సిన్సియర్ వినాలి కొన్ని ఫోకస్ వినాలి. ఎస్
అండ్ టైం మేనేజ్మెంట్ చేద్దాం అనేసి ఇది ఆన్ చేసి ప్యారలల్ గా వి డూ సమ్ పూజ, రెగ్యులర్ పూజ లైక్ దట్ వి డూ ప్రభుజీ.
యా ఓకే ప్రభుజీ ఎనీవే ఇట్స్ ఎంత ఆల్రెడీ 9 o'clock అవుతుంది. లెట్ us spend maximum 5 to 10 minutes. 5 minutes క్విక్లీ ఒకసారి నేను చేస్తా 3 times చేస్తా. ఇది కొత్తది ప్రయోజనాధిదేవ ప్రణామ. ఇది ఎనీవే we have done this one, right? అభిధేయ ఆదిదేవ ప్రణామ. So let us do this one. ప్రయోజన ఆదిదేవ ప్రణామ. ప్రయోజన ఆదిదేవ ప్రణామ. 3 times I will do at a time. So you all do one time and then we can wrap up. Maybe we'll continue on Monday learning again. Okay. These important verses actually. Sambandha, what is the Sambandha Jnana? Radha Madan Mohan. These are Vaishnavacharyas. Their connection. Radha Madan Mohan, Sanatana Goswami. Worshipable deity. This may be have learned already. Radha Madan Mohan. And then Radha Srila Govinda Deva. Radha Srila Govinda Deva. I'm not sure Govinda Deva. Prayojanadi Deva Pranama is Radha Gopinath. Now we will do this one. I will do 3 times. You can hear and then practice one time and wrap up. Shriman Rasarambi Vamshivata Tatastitha Karishan Venu Swanair Gopir Gopinatha Shriyestunaha Shriman Rasarambi Vamshivata Tatastitha Karshan Venu Swanair Gopir Gopinatha Shriyestuna Shriman Rasarambi Vamshivata Tatastitha Karshan Venu Swanair Gopir Gopinatha Shriyestuna. Translation, anybody, please?
Srila Gopinatha, who originated the transcendental willow of the Rasa dance, stands on the shore of Vamshivata and attracts the attention of the cowherd damsels with the sound Gopi. Something is coming in between. The attracts the something is coming in between.
Attracts the attention of the cowherd damsels. Yeah.
Attention of the cowherd damsels with the sound of his celebrated flute, where they conquer upon their benediction. Go up, Prabhu. confer upon
us their benediction. మీ మొబైల్ అయితే మొబైల్ స్క్రోల్ చేయండి. ఇట్స్ ఓకే ప్రభు. యా. Sri Srila Gopinatha, who originated the transcendental melody of the Rasa dance, stands on the shore in the Vamshi Vata and attracts the attention of the cowherd damsels, the sound of his celebrated flute. May they all confer upon us their benediction. So, okay. Let me do one more time and then you all practice one time and then wrap up. Shriman Rasa Rasarambhi Vamshi Vata Tatastita Karshan Venu Swanair Gopir Gopinatha Shriyestuna. Halavanetulu.
ప్రయోజనాది దేవ ప్రణామ. శ్రీమాన్ రాసరసారంభీ వంశీవట తటస్థిత కర్షన్ వేణుస్వనైర్గోపీర్గోపినాథాయ శ్రితే శ్రియేస్తు నః. శ్రీమాన్ రాసరసారంభీ వంశీవట తటస్థిత కర్షన్ వేణుస్వనైర్గోపీర్గోపీనాథ శ్రియేస్తు నః.
Thank you. Prabhus.
Sriman Rasa Rasarambi Sriman Rasa Rasarambi Vamshi Vatata Stitaha Harshan Venuswanair Gopir Gopinatha Sriyestunaha.
Haribol.
Shrival Rasarambhi Vamshi Vata Tatastita Karshaler Venuswarler Gopir Gopinatha Shriyestuna.
Right. Anybody? Antena? Yes. Vani Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavat Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. You want to do?
Yeah, yes Prabhuji, I'll try.
Yes.
Shriman Rasa Rasarambhi Vamsi Vata Tatastita Karshanam Venu Swaner Gopir Gopinatha Shrite Stute Naha Stuna. What is the last one, Prabhuji? Gopinatha
Shriyestuna.
Shreyastuna. Okay. Gopinatha Shreyastuna. I'll repeat, Prabhuji.
Yes, sir.
Shriman Rasa Rasarambhi Vamsi Vata Tatastita Karshanam Venu Swaner Gopir Gopinatha Shreyastuna.
శ్రియేస్తు నః.
Shreyastuna. Gopinatha Shreyastuna. ఇంకోసారి చెప్పమంటారు ప్రభుజీ.
చేయండి మాతాజీ.
శ్రీమాన్ రాసరంభి వంశీ వట తతస్థిత కర్షణం వేణు స్వనేర్ గోపీనాథ శ్రీయేస్తునా.
Haribol.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much. Actually, I am finding. So basically, Sambandha Adideva Pranama. So this one, Radha Madan Mohan, the Goswami is Sanatana Goswami. Okay. And then Radha Govinda Dev, Rupa Goswami, Srila Radha Govinda Dev. And then Radha Gopinath, Raghunath Das Goswami. Yeah. So their deities, they worship and they realized they go back to it. Their personal life is still there in the Vrindavan. Okay. So we'll conclude here. This one is regular verses, right? Tapta Kanchana, they will do on Monday anyway. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, then Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Done the Pranam Mantra done. ఒకసారి అన్ని ఒక్కొక్కరు అంజనం చేస్తే అయిపోతుంది. Start with all these prayers. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya up to Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We'll continue. Next week, we'll only practice on the pranam prayers. And then we'll go back to our, so far we learned close to 200 verses. So we have to repeat all those again. Let us take 1 or 2 months break. Not new, only repeat all the Bhagavad Gita from Bhagavad Gita slokas from Bhakti Shastri, anchor slokas, Dhruva Maharaj slokas, Queen Kunti Maharaj slokas, prayers. ఇంకేం నేర్చుకున్నాం మనం?
బ్రహ్మ సంహిత.
బ్రహ్మ సంహిత. వాట్ ఎల్స్? బ్రహ్మ సంహిత, క్వీన్ కుంతి మహారాణి, ధ్రువ ధ్రువ మహారాజ్. ధ్రువ మహారాజ్ డన్.
యాంకర్ శ్లోక.
యాంకర్ శ్లోకాస్, ఎస్. అంతేనా? ఓకే. యా, క్లోజ్ టు 200 అయి ఉంటాయి. సో బెటర్ వి విల్ ప్రాక్టీస్.
ప్రభుజీ మీరు వెళ్ళి అక్కడ డాక్యుమెంట్ చేశారా ప్రభుజీ? ఒకసారి షేర్ చేస్తారా అది?
అన్ని ఉన్నాయి ప్రభుజీ. అన్ని డిఫరెంట్ ఫైల్స్ లాగా చేసినాం కదా అప్పుడు. సో లెట్ మీ కంపేర్ ఇన్ వన్.
ఒకసారి అది డాక్యుమెంట్ చేసి ఒక లింక్ షేర్ చేయరా ప్రభుజీ ప్లీజ్?
అది నేను మనం భక్తి శాస్త్రి కూడా అంత పీడిఎఫ్ ఉండే ప్రభు. భక్తి శాస్త్రి, ధ్రువ మహారాజ్ ది పీడిఎఫ్.
ఒక ఫైల్ ఫోల్డర్ వేయండి, వేసి ఒకసారి లింక్ షేర్ చేయండి.
లింక్ పెడతా. ఎస్, గూగుల్ డ్రైవ్ లో లింక్ పెడితే
ఒక సాటర్డే సండే టైం తీసుకోండి ఒకసారి.
ఎస్, ఐల్ పుట్ బిఫోర్ వి స్టార్ట్ ఆల్ ద
మీరు
రివిజన్.
అంటే మీ అదేంటి మీరు వర్డ్ లో మీరు దీంట్లో పీపీటీలో పెట్టారు కదా, అది రీడబుల్ గా ఉంది మంచిగా, అంటే ఫాల్ట్ బాగుంది, అది పెట్టండి. అది
పీపీటీ కావాలా?
ఏదల్లా మీరు మళ్ళీ మీరు ఇట్లా పీపీటీ టైంలో పెట్టారు కదా అప్పుడు అల్లి చదివేటప్పుడు.
భక్తి శాస్త్రి పీపీటీ ఉండే, కానీ ఇప్పుడు ఏమనుకున్నా అంటే ప్రభుజీ అన్ని కంపైల్ చేసి ఒకటే పీడిఎఫ్ మర్జీ చేసి అయిపోతుంది. అదే ఫాలో అవ్వచ్చు మనం. అదే చూస్తా. లెట్ మీ ఫైండ్ అవుట్ అండ్
టైం బట్టి చేయాలి ప్రభుజీ. షేర్ చేయండి. ఎప్పుడల్లా చూద్దామంటే హ్యాండీగా ఉండాలి అట్లా.
అదే అంటే రెడీగా ఉంటుంది అది ఇప్పుడు. అందుకే ఒకటే డాక్యుమెంట్ పెడితే మనకు మొత్తం
హ్యాండీగా ఉంటుంది.
ఈజీ అయి ఉంటాయి. 200+ శ్లోకాస్. యా, వి విల్ డూ. అందరం మళ్ళీ ఒకసారి వీ హ్యావ్ టు ప్రాక్టీస్ విత్ అవర్ టంగ్ యూజింగ్ ఫర్ కృష్ణ సర్వీస్, reciting all these wonderful prayers. Okay, thank you so much. Let us connect on Monday. Wish you all very happy Krishna conscious weekend. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti Vaishnava vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada translated book reading ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Pranam mantras ki jai. Nitya Gaura Hari Premanande Hari Hari Bo.
Hari Hari.
Thank you Motherwell Prabhu. Thank you Akinchan Priya Prabhu. Thank you Ravan. Thank you Vani Mataji. Thank you Radhika Mataji. Thank you Gaurav Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yeah.